Abraham Lincoln had a famous quote. It was, "Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." My father used to quote that to me all the time. I really wish I had listened more closely. This goes back to when I was a senior in college at the University of Missouri at Columbia. One night, I was in the St. Louis airport. I was coming back from a weekend in St. Louis. I was going to fly back. I had parked at the Columbia Municipal Airport. Now, as a senior, I faced the prospect of losing my student deferment and maybe having to go in the military, but it was my goal to go to law school. And every law school has that legendary professor, has that professor who just scares the bejesus out of all the first-year law students. And at the University of Missouri, his name was William Pittman, aka the Fox. He had this beautiful white hair and this white mustache, and he was just as stately as could be. And as I strolled through the St. Louis airport that fateful Sunday night, I looked over, and who was standing there but the Fox? I saw this as a real opportunity to take an advantage of the situation. So I walked over, and being bold and brave, I stuck my hand out and introduced myself. "Hello, Mr. Pittman. My name's Wayne Schoenberg." And he kind of looked at me like a bull looks at a bastard calf. I said, "Yes." Of course, I took that as an invitation to go farther. I then, for reasons still unknown to me, flew into a litany about what my future plans were. I was a senior. I was going to go to law school. Well, maybe I was going to go to law school. I might be drafted. But if I wasn't drafted, I was going to go to law school. I really wanted to go to law school. I went on for what seemed like an interminable amount of time. And at the end, when I stopped, Mr. Pittman looked at me, didn't say a word, and I excused myself and went off unscathed. He looked sort of appropriately disinterested. Now, this was a guy who would humiliate first-year law students, and I don't know if it was because he was so bad or so mean, or because it was first-year law students who are afraid of everything. Nonetheless, I had made it out unharmed. And I kind of figured that I made some points, maybe. When I got to the airport that night, as I was pulling around the terminal, and you have to understand the Columbia Municipal Airport at that time was nothing more than a Quonset hut with a little gooseneck lamp sticking out over the end of it. As I came around there, I got in my car, and there, standing under the gooseneck lamp with a little halo of light over him, was none other than the Fox, puffing his pipe and obviously waiting for a cab. Well, I couldn't let that opportunity go by, so I pulled up and I said, "Mr. Pittman, may I give you a ride home?" And he said, "Why, certainly." And he picked up his valise and he walked around, put it in my car, and got in. Now, here I am. I'm in the car with the Fox. Okay, I'm miles ahead of everybody who's going to start law school in September. I'm in. Okay, the Fox and I are like arm-punching buddies. He sat there stoically and stared ahead, and as we started to pull out of the parking lot for reasons still unknown to me, I flew into the same litany. I regurgitated everything that I had told him at the airport in St. Louis. I'm a senior in college. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go to law school. Maybe I'm going to go in the Army. Maybe I'm going to go to law school. I went on, and he sat there stoically staring straight ahead. And when I finally took a breath, he said to me, "Well, that's very interesting. I met a young man at the airport in St. Louis who was in a similar situation." And I thought, oh my Lord, he's going to embarrass himself. He doesn't know. Now how do I get out of this? How do I diplomatically tell him that that's me? And right before I could say anything, he said, "Perhaps you know him. His name is Wayne Schoenberg." At that point, all I could hope for is that he would retire before I got out of the Army.